Hey guys, in this beginner's guide, I'm going to explain what pan pastels are, how they work, and go through all of the supplies you need to get started with pan pastels. I'll also show you how you can complete this landscape using pan pastels step by step. So by the end of this tutorial, you'll have all of the knowledge you'll need to get started with this medium. I'm Kirsty Rebecca, and I make drawing and painting tutorials that are easy to follow even if you're just starting out. If you want to follow along with a real-time version of this project where I talk you through every step of the process, then I'll leave a link to my Patreon channel in the description below. The Patreon tutorial goes much more in depth about pan pastels and everything that you need to know about them, so if you don't get all the information that you're after through this tutorial, you can check that out as well. I'm just going to run through the supplies that I'm using for this piece. So I'm starting out with a set of 10 pan pastels because I find that this is the most common amount that people buy to start out with. And I'll leave a link in the description to the exact set that I've got here. It's called the painting or the pure colors, and it can be a little confusing because there are so many different sets you can choose from. So I'll leave that link in the description so you can check out which set I'm using. So with this set, you can mix any color that you need to, but you can also mix all of the same colors by using a smaller set of 5 colors, and I'll explain how you do that in just a moment. You'll also need to apply them with something, and the most common thing that people use are these soft tools, and that's spelled SOFT, and these kind of look like makeup brushes or makeup sponges, but they're not the same thing as makeup brushes. So I would suggest getting your hands on some of these tools, and they come in all sorts of different sizes. Like these blue tools come in different shapes as well, and you can also get larger sponges for larger areas. But for this project, I'm just using a couple of these small ones that look like eyeshadow applicators and 2 of the blue tools as well. The paper that I'm working on is Clairefontaine Pastel Mat, and this comes in large sheets that you can cut down to size, or they come in pads like this as well. So I prefer to work on a mid-tone color, so any mid-tone grey or brown or sienna sort of color works really quite well. And the reason that I like using the mid-tone colors is because it's easier to apply light colors and dark colors. So rather than working on white where you can only sort of apply darker colors, it makes it a bit easier to work that way when you start out with a mid-tone color. There are a lot of different papers out there for pastels, but I find that this paper is the best for the techniques that I like to use and how I like to work. So you can try other papers, but I'd highly recommend getting your hands on this paper, even if it is a little bit more expensive, because there's nothing else like it on the market. If you do have a limited budget that you're working with, I would recommend getting less pan pastels and spend that money on the Clairefontaine Pastel Mat rather than getting cheaper paper and more pan pastels. It's more important to have a good surface to work from because you can actually mix a smaller amount of colors to create all the colors you need. Whereas if you choose the wrong paper, you won't be able to get the same effects and the same results that you can with this paper. And the last thing that I like to use with my pan pastel pieces are cotton tips, and I just use these to blend my pastel in between each layer. So you can use a blending stump if you like, but cotton tips are quite cheap and they're small enough to get into any of the little gaps that you need to, and I just find that they work quite well. If you find that you rest your hand on your artwork quite a lot, or you tend to smudge your pastels a bit throughout the process, you can actually rest your hand on some paper. So I usually use glassine because it's see-through, so I like to be able to see the artwork underneath, but you can just use any paper that you have around. Make sure that instead of dragging it across the piece when you move it, make sure that you lift it up and lay it back down so you're not smudging any of the pastel underneath, but you can rest your hand on top of that paper to stop smudging the pastel underneath. So pan pastels are basically a soft pastel that's been compressed into these pans. They have a label on the bottom that tells you exactly what that color is to make it easier when you run out of that color as well to purchase more. They also screw together for easy storage, or you can buy trays that fit up to 20 pans in them that come with a lid that covers the entire tray. So one of the reasons why I recommend getting pan pastels is because according to their website, they have 40% more pastel than the average pastel stick, and they yield at least 4 to 5 times more coverage. And the fact that you can blend colors together to create new colors is something that is not easily achieved with pastel sticks. So they can seem expensive when you're starting out, but they're actually more cost effective in the long run because of how much pastel is in these pans, and because you don't have to buy a large set. You can just pick 5 or 10 or 20 or whatever you can afford to start with, and then you can just add more colors over time. So if you find that you're using certain colors more often, and then you can obviously go and buy that color specifically. So the way that pan pastels work and and the reason why I suggest getting a set of pure or painting colors is because they come in a set of over 80 colors, and these consist of a pure color, and then for each pure color there is also a tint, a shade, and an extra dark shade. So for example, this pure orange color, if you add white to it, it creates orange tint. If you add black to that pure color, it creates orange shade, and then if you add a little bit more black, it creates orange extra dark shade. So from a set of 20 pure colors, you can actually mix them with black and white to create the entire set of 80 colors. And then you can go one step further. So if you've only got a set of 5 or 10 pure colors, all you have to do is mix the other colors with those colors. So for example, you can mix the red and the yellow to make orange, and the blue and the yellow to make green, and the red and the blue to make purple. And then you can mix all the other colors in between, and then you can add your white and black from there. So basically what I'm saying is that if you can only afford a set of 5 pan pastels, you can get the red, yellow, blue, black, and white, and you'll be able to mix any color that you need to from there. So for this piece, I'm using a set of 10 pure colors because I find that's the most common amount of pan pastels that people buy. When it comes to doing your outline, I wouldn't recommend drawing straight onto your pastel mat, because when you erase on pastel mat and you're changing things quite a lot, it can actually damage the surface of the paper. And also, if you're using graphite as your outline, sometimes the pastel doesn't stick well to graphite shine and things like that. So what I recommend doing is doing your freehand drawing on a separate piece of paper, or print out the reference photo and use that. And I don't have the footage for the exact piece that we're doing now, but I'm going to show you with this bird how I would recommend getting your outline down on your pastel mat. All you have to do is turn your reference photo or your drawing over, and then apply some pan pastel to the back of the piece. So you can use a lighter color if you're working on dark paper, or a dark color if you're working on light paper, or you can choose a color that matches the drawing that you're doing. And then you can just apply that pan pastel to the back of your drawing or your printed reference photo. And then you can turn that over and tape it down to your pastel mat. And I'd recommend taping a little bit at the top and a little bit on one side. And that way you can actually lift up that piece of paper to check that the lines that you're doing are showing up on your pastel mat. And then all you need to do is trace over your line drawing or your printed reference photo, and the pastel from the back of that piece of paper will come through onto your pastel mat. And this way you're not using graphite in the process, you're actually using pastel, which will blend in with the following layers. So you shouldn't have any issues with your line drawing showing through in the end. You just want to make sure that you're not pressing too hard with the pencil or the pen that you're using on top, because that can indent the paper. So I recommend pressing quite lightly to start out with, and then you can lift up the paper to check that your lines are coming through, and then if they're not, you can just press a little bit harder and check again. You definitely don't want to press too hard, because indenting the paper can be an issue throughout your project. So I've got a piece of printer paper to the side there to mix my colors on as I go. You want to use a piece of paper that's quite smooth, so you don't want to use anything with any graininess or grittiness to it, because it will be hard to get that pastel off. You want to make sure that you're using a paper that's quite smooth, so I just use printer paper for that. And I'm going to come through and mix the colors that I need for the sky. So I'm starting out with quite a light colored blue, and I'm just applying that to the top of the sky, and I'm kind of avoiding the areas where the clouds are. But in this reference photo, the clouds are mixed in with the blue of the sky quite a bit, so I'm not too worried if I get blue in other areas as well. And then I'm just going to come back through with the white straight from the pan to fill in some of the areas where the cloud is. And when you first start to apply pan pastels, you'll notice that it looks really quite patchy and a little bit rough, and it doesn't look smooth at all, but you can actually keep layering on top until it becomes a smoother result. So when you're using your soft tools, you want to make sure that you're pressing really, really lightly on your pastel mat, because one of the main complaints that I hear people talk about with these soft tools specifically is that they wear away quite quickly, especially on this type of paper. And the reason that it's wearing away quite quickly is because if you press hard on this paper, it's almost got like a sanded surface to it. So when you press hard, you're literally sanding away that tool. So if you find that your colors aren't coming off of your soft tool, all you need to do is get more color on your tool. So go back to the pan or to the color swatch that you've just mixed and add more pastel to that tool, and then go back into your artwork. You don't want to press harder to try and get more color to come off of your tool, because it's not going to help. It's just going to damage the tool more quickly. Also, if you're working on larger pieces, you can actually just use the larger sponges as well. So these tools, because they are so thin, they do wear away a little bit quicker than the bigger sponges. So if you're working on a slightly larger piece with a bigger area that you want to fill in, like for backgrounds, when you're doing wildlife and that kind of thing, using those bigger sponges, they'll wear away much less quickly than these tools do. So when I filled in the white area where the sun is and the orange area there, I've used different tools for that, because if you're going into a really white area like where the sun is, you want to make sure that your tool is super clean so that you're not contaminating it with other colors. So I've switched to a different tool for the white of the sun, and then I've also switched to a different tool for the orange areas, because if you had any blue left on your tool and you go into orange, because it's opposite each other on the color wheel, you'll end up with this sort of muddy color. So I've just made sure that I've used a clean tool for the different colors. You can actually wipe off most of the excess pigment from your soft tool onto a piece of paper towel. Like I've got one on the top right hand corner there that I use to wipe off the excess pigment, and that's usually fine for most of the piece. But when you've got those really bright colors or really pure colors in your piece, you might be better off just getting a clean tool or a new tool to do that. Once your tools get too dirty and you're struggling to get off the excess pastel from your tool on paper towel, you can actually wash your tools in soap and water. Just make sure that they're completely dry before you go and use them again. And if you find that the pan pastels themselves are getting slightly dirty, like you're getting other colors mixed in with certain colors, and then you can actually just grab a tissue and then wipe over the top of the pan pastel, and it will just remove the excess color on top of that pan, and it will go back to a clean color again. So here I am blending out my pastel with a cotton tip, and there's a couple of reasons that I do that. And the first reason is that it pushes the pigment into the tooth of the paper. And so what I mean by the tooth of the paper is that every surface that you work on has kind of like little grooves in the paper, which are kind of like hills and valleys. So the pigment will catch on the top of the hills and then deposit into the valleys. And once you've filled up the valleys so that they're level with the hills, you'll end up with this sort of slick, smooth surface where you won't be able to add any more pigment on top, because there's nothing for the pastel to grip onto anymore, which means that you won't be able to add any more layers on top. So before I show you the next step, if you want to follow along with my longer real-time tutorials where I talk you through every step of the process, then Patreon might be the solution for you. For a small amount per month, you'll have access to every tutorial that I've previously uploaded on your chosen tier level in a variety of mediums like pastel, coloured pencil, graphite, watercolour and more. You will also have access to the original reference photo, a traceable outline, and a list of supplies that I'm using, so you really can follow along every step of the way. My tutorials don't skip any stages or cut out any important parts of the process, and I will share all of my secrets to help you improve. Every month, I will upload brand new tutorials to the library so you can grow and develop your drawing and painting skills and take your art to the next level. You can also join in on our members chat group where you can ask questions or advice or share your artwork and talk to other members in the Patreon community. The link is in the description if you want to check it out. And on the subject of blending out your layers in between, another reason that I do it is because it actually smooths out the pastel a little bit better and sort of blends the colors into each other a little bit. And it also helps with the pastel dust fall off. So by pushing it into the tooth of the paper rather than letting it sit there, it means that there's going to be less dust falling off of your drawing as well. So in general, when I'm working on landscapes, I like to start with the background first and then work my way forward. So I've started with the sky first, and now we're going to move on to the mountains that are below that. So in general, the things that are further away are going to be lighter and more on the blue side than the things that are closer to you. So the mountains in the background are going to be more of a lighter blue, whereas the mountains that are a bit closer are going to be a bit more warmer, and the shadows are going to be darker and the highlights are going to be lighter. So I'm just mixing up some lighter colored blues and purples and adding those into the background there. And I usually recommend taping your work down, and there are a few reasons for that. The first is that it makes it easier when you're framing or moving or storing your piece. So when you tape your work down, you end up with a clean border that's around the outside of your artwork, which means you have something to hold on to or to help frame it and things like that. So that's one of the reasons why I do it. It also makes it look nice. So if you sell your artwork not framed, when the customer receives it and they open up the piece, it looks like it has a nice little border around the the outside as well. So it can be good just for aesthetic reasons like that. But I always recommend that you guys tape your work to a board rather than your desk. And the reason for that is that the artwork doesn't move around while you're working on it, and the edges won't curl up or anything like that. And you can actually rotate the board so that it's on a better angle for your hand. If you're working on in an awkward position or anything like that, you can just rotate the board so it's a bit better for your hand. And then also when you get excess pastel dust around your work area or on your artwork, you can actually pick up that board and take it to a bin and then turn it upside down and tap off the excess dust rather than blowing it all over your desk. So I'm just blending out the mountains with a cotton tip, and then I'm going to move on to the mountains that are a bit closer to us. So these are going to be much more green, and the shadows are going to be much darker, and the highlights are also going to be lighter. So usually the way that I work with pan pastel, I use it for my backgrounds, and I also use it as a base layer for my pastel pencils. So when I'm doing backgrounds, usually I add quite a few layers of pan pastel and I blend it with a cotton tip in between each layer. So the amount of layers that I add for the background just depends on how soft I want it to look and how much I want the colors to blend into each other. And then when I'm doing a base layer for animals or wildlife or people or anything like that, I use it as kind of like an underpainting, and I only use it very sparingly. So I don't add as much pastel as what I'm doing in this piece when I'm using it as an underpainting, because I want to make sure that I have enough tooth for the pastel pencils to stick on top of. So when I use this for an underpainting, there's quite a lot of that pastel matte paper showing through, so it doesn't look as smooth and there's not as much pan pastel in the beginning when I'm using it for that reason. And that's just so that I'll still be able to add a few layers of pastel pencils on top of that. So I don't usually just do an entire piece in pan pastels, but I thought this would be a really good project to get to know how pan pastels work, how they blend and how they layer, and basically how to use them without having to worry about how much pastel you have to put down and that kind of thing if you're going to go on top with pastel pencils. But in general, if you are using them as a base layer, you want to make sure that you don't add as much pastel as you're doing here. And when I'm working with these, I don't always have a piece of paper that I mix my colors on to the side in every piece that I do. A lot of the time I just go straight in from the pans to my artwork and do it that way and just layer my colors on top of each other, and then you can sort of mix them on the paper as you go. For this project, I am mixing the colors on the side so that you can see what color you're actually mixing before you go onto your piece. But the more that you use them and the more color theory you know, the easier it is to actually just go straight from the pan onto your paper. And because I usually use it for base layers, the color doesn't have to be very accurate at all. I'm just trying to get a general base down to work on top of. So going straight onto the artwork is a much quicker way of doing it, and it just saves a bit of time that way. Also, on the topic of colours, I find that a lot of people worry about their colour choices quite a lot, and in reality, your colours are not really that important. That's not what's going to make something look realistic. It's actually your values, so making sure that your shadows are dark enough and your highlights are light enough. That's more important than choosing the perfect colour. And there are also other more important things than colours, like making sure that your outline is accurate and your proportions and that kind of thing. Colour is way down on the list of making something look realistic. The colours that I've got on here don't actually match the reference photo exactly. I've just chosen colours that are close, but making sure that they're not too dark or too light in comparison to that colour on the reference photo. So when I mixed the purples in the background, for example, I wasn't worried about getting the exact same hue of purple. I was just worried about mixing one that was as light or as dark as the reference photo. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. And you can always try it, so just add that colour to your artwork, and if it doesn't look quite right, you can always adjust that colour in the following layers. And if you're not sure if your values are right, something that I do quite a lot is when I get towards the end of my artwork, I take a picture of it, and then I turn that picture into black and white, and I get my reference photo and turn that into black and white as well, and then I compare them next to each other, like side by side. And when you take away the colour aspect of it, it becomes really clear if your shadows are as dark as the reference photo or if your highlights are as light. Most people don't have an issue going too light. It's usually the darks that they don't get dark enough. So this way you can actually see if they are the same as your reference, and you can edit your artwork from there. If you want to follow along with a real-time version of this project where I talk you through every step of the process, there's a link to my Patreon channel in the description below. Otherwise, there's a playlist of other pastel tutorials that I thought you might find useful, so click on that and I'll see you over there.